started as a lifetime mission to liberate Iran 46 years ago. And it has never been about me. It's been about the Iranian people and their right to self-determination, which is exactly what this is all about. It is not for a foreign government to decide who or what should be the alternative for Iran. That's up to the Iranian people. I've never asked for any kind of endorsement from any leader or governments. We cannot expect people to be able to safely return to the streets to take on the final battle without some degree of either protection or means to neutralize forces that are hostile to them. And that's part of the reason why the campaign that started as a result of the massacre that led to the intervention by the Israelis and the American forces to strike the regime was an element that was perhaps a necessary step to avoid further bloodshed, but also to empower the people to the extent of saying the playing field will be equalized. When you have the mechanism of repression of the regime that were weakened as a result of those strikes, without which it will be very difficult for them to confront this regime. Those are added help. Those are the kind of outside interventions that may be required. On January 8th and 9th, people went to the streets still peacefully, just chanting the slogan. When that happens, you cannot expect that by the same method of non-violence, you can achieve the same result with the way this regime is behaving. This intervention can actually help save more lives that will otherwise also. So it's really a matter of trying to protect more lives from being lost under this regime that is demonstrating that it has no limit in terms of how far it's willing to go to kill its own citizenry. My position as a transitional leader is I'm not the destination. I'm a bridge to the destination, number one. Number two, in order to be a neutral arbiter, I'm completely above the fray. I'm not taking sides, either for a monarchy or for a republic. My job is to make sure that there's a healthy debate and at the end people decide what is it that they actually would prefer to have as the final form. In fact, I've reached out to people who were, at the time, my father's worst enemies. Today, they are fully on board working with me. I'm talking about former Marxists, people who used to be member of the Tudeh party, the Fedayan Khalq organization, former MEK members. I don't know how far more can you stretch the tent, including those people, to prove that, in fact, there is much more unity than ever, certainly inside Iran. Look, there are certain lines that I'm not going to cross, and I'll be very honest with you. There are three distinct groups that we simply cannot work with. The pro-regime elements, the MEK, and separatists. I believe in pluralism. I believe in tolerance. I believe in civility, in debate, in argument, in comportment, respect, and no hostility of any kind, or no brutality of any kind. That goes for everyone. Anybody who claims to be my supporter has to understand that these are the guidelines. And anyone who would violate these guidelines, A, I don't consider a supporter, and I'll be the first to condemn that behavior. And if their behavior is criminal, that they will face the full penalty of the law in any country in which such violation has occurred. Let me be very clear about that. As far as every single statement made by my team, we are certainly establishing a much stricter protocol now in terms of to what extent people who are closely associated with me have to be able to censor themselves, which is very unfair to begin with because it's a violation of free speech, but at the same time, you can no longer act independently. You have to be much more careful about what we said or not. What we are witnessing is not so much the fact that most Iranians, as secular Democrats, want to have a democratic future. That's a given. I think, and that's 46 years of interaction and experience of what I'm here to share with you after all these years. I very much doubt that the majority of Iranians do not believe that there has to be rule of law, there has to be protection of everything, human rights, what have you. What I think will take some time, and I mean that in the most honest way possible, is to bring about a democratic culture. Right after the Green Movement and closer to the timeline where the Women Life Freedom Movement kicked in, I began receiving some, DMs in my social media by elements that say, I'm a Basiji in Mashhad, or I'm a member of the IRGC in such and such country. We hate this regime. We're not with them. We're looking for an opportunity to break away, blah, blah, blah. It was really a casual. And when I said to the media that I'm in touch with elements like that, it was in that context. It's not that, like, in fact, talking to the IRGC command, not at all. But there were elements of the Basij, of the Sepah, of course the military as well, that would communicate with me, discreetly, and obviously as a sign that, this is what the deal is. And for at least the last 10 years, I've been one of the first advocates of proscribing the IRGC as a terrorist organization for two reasons. Number one is, in fact, their behavior is nothing short of being terror at home and abroad. And as a means of our approach to my 5-point plan of action that includes maximum pressure on the regime, one of them is putting more pressure on the regime by proscribing the IRGC, which is the key element that holds this regime in place.